We'll start with a prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you all for joining. We are going to continue studying the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, which is actually contents of the whole Gita summarized. We will do verse number 14 through 40. I'll read in Sanskrit and then the translation and then the explanation. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shito shana sukha dukkadaha agama paino nityastam satikshasva bharata. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O sign of Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So, those of you who are joining us for the first time, we have been reading this very special book called the Bhagavad Gita, Science of Self-Realization, and we are in chapter 2. And as we can see, this verse that we just read, Krishna is informing Arjuna about something very important that actually we go through it on a daily basis: happiness and distress. So here he says the first important point is non-permanent appearance, which means just like the seasons, winter and summer, they are non-permanent because like right now it's summer and soon it's going to be winter. And then again, there's going to be summer again. So it's non-permanent. It's not that it's winter all the time or it's, summer all the time. Similarly, he says, just like the winter and summer seasons, they appear and disappear. Similarly, the happiness and distress also comes and goes. That is also non-permanent. And we have noticed that in our lives, right? Sometimes we are very happy, sometimes we are a little happy, but that happiness does not stay forever. And similarly, the distress also does not stay forever. But important point is we must learn to tolerate. And the Sanskrit word that the Lord is using is titikshasva, which means we have to become tolerant. Just as when it is winter season, we still shower, right? We don't say, oh, it's too cold, I am not going to shower today, or I'm not going to shower for the whole winter season. Or for instance, when it's really hot, in summer, we don't say, oh, I'm not going to cook any food because it's too hot. No, we got to cook to eat. So just like we tolerate the summer and winter seasons, similarly, we must learn to tolerate happiness and distress. Of course, we don't need to tolerate happiness because everyone loves happiness. No one wants the happiness to go away, but it does go away because it's non-permanent. Now here, Arjuna, who is actually a warrior, a fighter, a kshatriya as per the Bhagavad Gita, and his prescribed duty is to fight. And he's in the battlefield, the war is about to begin. He does not want to fight, which means he doesn't want to do his prescribed duty. But here Krishna has started instructing him on who he really is, his true identity, that he is not this body, but he is a spirit soul. And he's wondering, why is it that Arjuna does not want to do his prescribed duty? Why is he trying to deviate? Right? Even though, he knows that this war is also temporary. Today the war is there, tomorrow there is no war. So the point that Krishna is bringing forth is that one should be undisturbed whether it is happiness or distress. We should be equipoised, right? If we come to that stage of, not being disturbed, whether we are in the happy situation or in a depressed situation or in a sad situation, then we are eligible for liberation. Then we become eligible, qualified to break the cycle of birth and death that we've been going through. There is birth, disease, old age, and death. And after death, there is birth again, according to the Bhagavad Gita. So here Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that he should have some determination, he should be steady, he should face the difficulties, whatever difficulties arise, especially for us also. When the difficulties come, we either become, unmotivated or depressed, but no, difficulties will come. That is part of life. So we need to somehow or the other learn to handle them and not be disturbed. There will be difficulties, whether if you take up the, job situation, relationships, or, havoc created by material nature, like, the hurricane in New Orleans. So all these difficulties will arise, but what should we do? If a person is, aware, has knowledge about who he or she is, if we are aware that I'm not this body, but I am the spirit soul within the body, and if one realizes with the help of knowledge, that is very important. Knowledge is very important. In any sphere of life, we do need knowledge. Once we have the knowledge, then we contemplate on it, try to understand it, and put it into practice. Then Krishna says we become free from bondage. Then the miseries will be experienced by the body, but the spirit soul which is within the body will be unaffected, right? That is what this Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. So if we can understand the very first lesson of Bhagavad Gita, that is the foundation of this whole scripture. If we can understand, I am not this body, but I am a spirit soul, then we can build up on that knowledge and, understand that everything, is, the body is the one that gets affected, but the soul remains neutral. The soul remains the same. Scientifically, it's proved that every 7 years, all the cells within the body are replaced, which means every 7 years, we have a new body. All the cells are replaced. So we don't have the old body. Say, for instance, 7 years ago, the body that I had, I do not have that anymore. It's changing. The body changes. It goes through different changes. Like there are 6 changes. There is birth, then, there is growth, then there is byproducts like children, then, there is a little bit of dwindling, like old age comes, and then finally the body vanishes, and that is called death. So the first lesson of this Bhagavad Gita is that we are spirit souls and we are eternal. Once we take on this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, then we can remove the ignorance, ignorance that, we are unaware of who we are, where have we come from, what are we doing in this material world? What is my goal in life? Where do I go from here? All these questions, when they are answered, then all that ignorance is removed. Now, today I read the verse number 14 in Sanskrit, but when we go further in this chapter, verse number 17 onwards, Krishna starts giving the qualities of the spirit soul, which means he's explaining to us who we really are, what are our qualities. And he says that the soul is indestructible. No one can kill the soul. It can never be destroyed. It is eternal. It is imperishable. And the point is to notice, the point to notice is that spirit soul cannot be seen with our material eyes. According to the Upanishad, there's one Upanishad called Shvetashvatara Upanishad, which states that the size of the spirit soul, which is situated in the heart, is 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair. That means we take the tip of our hair and we make 100 parts of it. Then we take that one part out of those 100 and cut that into 100 parts, and then take one part out of that second 100 parts. That is the size of the soul. Unimaginable. That is why we cannot see the spirit soul, even with the very powerful instrument. It is not possible to see the spirit soul. Then how do we believe that there is a soul in the body? Very simple. Bhagavad Gita tells us that the proof of the soul in the body is the consciousness. That small spiritual spark is giving life to the whole body. That's the difference between a living body and a dead body. Dead body means the spirit soul has left that body and gone possibly to the next body. There was a very famous scientist, Dr. Harry Monson, and he had done research, and he had said that when the soul leaves the body, the dead body, what is the value of that dead body? Previously, it was $5.40. And later on, with inflation, then he came up with $8.37. Can you believe that? Once the soul leaves the body, it's worth less than $10. But when the soul is in the body is invaluable. It has you cannot put a value to that body. Because of the spirit soul, the body is able to do whatever it is doing. So the spirit soul is situated in the heart along with the subtle body. Now, this is the gross body that we can see. And then there's a subtle body in the heart, which comprises of mind, intelligence, and false ego. The subtle body is also in the heart, and the Supreme Lord is also in the heart as the super soul. This is given in another Upanishad, which is called Mundaka Upanishad. So now Krishna, he's continuing with the qualities of the spirit soul. He says that the spirit soul is immeasurable. It is eternal, indestructible. You see, this is our real identity, that we are spirit souls. And so if we can somehow or the other, with the help of knowledge, change our consciousness so that we can act like spirit souls, like spiritual beings. And how do we do that? By taking on this knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita, contemplating on it, and then after understanding it, putting it into practice. Now, in verse number 20 of this chapter, Krishna says, Na jayate mriyate va kadachit. Now, this is in Sanskrit. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit. He says, for the soul, there is no birth, there is no death. It is ever existing. It is unborn. It is primeval. It is not slain when the body is slain. It does not die. It's eternal. So that is good news for us, right? That we are eternal. We do not die. It's just this covering, which is the body, that dies, right? So Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that if all these enemies of yours who have gathered here in the battlefield to fight with you, they are all eternal. You cannot kill them because they are spirit souls. Then why are you lamenting? Why are you not fighting? Because no one can kill the soul, right? And in verse number 22, Krishna gives another point, very important point. He says, Vasamsi jinani yatha vihaya. What does that mean? He says, as a person puts on new garments, giving up the old and useless ones, Similarly, the spirit soul takes on another body, giving up the old and useless body. So one should not, lament, right? The soul just goes on to the next body by the grace of the Supreme Lord. So there is no point in lamenting. Why lament for dead bodies? Instead, he tells Arjuna, you please get up. You are a warrior. You are in the battlefield. Your prescribed duty is to fight. So just do your prescribed duty and start fighting, right? He continues with the spirit soul. He says, no one can cut the spirit soul. No weapon can cut the spirit soul. The soul cannot be burned. It cannot be drowned in the water or moistened by water. It cannot be withered by the wind. It is unbreakable, insoluble. It cannot be dried. It cannot be burned. It's unchangeable. It says the soul is eternally the same, and you cannot even move. It is immovable. It's invisible. Why is it invisible? Because it's so tiny. It's such a tiny spark that we cannot, see it with our material eyes or with even powerful instruments. And it's inconceivable, right? It's inconceivable, and it is immutable. This is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. So why grieve for the body? Body is temporary, right? Last week I explained with an analogy that just like we, rent an apartment, take on a lease, and as soon as the lease expires, we have to leave the apartment and go on to the next apartment. Or for instance, when just like the soul is in this body, it's on lease. When the lease will expire, the soul will have to leave this body and go on to the next body. This is what is being explained. And then in verse number 27, Krishna is telling Arjuna that those who are born are sure to die. There is a phrase which goes like this: as sure as death. Right? I'm sure you all have heard this. As sure as death. So for those who are born, they are sure to die. And after death, one is sure to take birth again. So he's asking Arjuna, why are you lamenting? There is no need to lament at all. So from this, we come to know that since the soul is eternal and it is ever existing, it can never be killed. Why lament, right? Why lament? Now, theoretically, it's easy to say, oh yeah, I am not this body, I'm the spirit soul. But what about practically, right? How do we put that into practice? How do we get that realization? Once we understand the Bhagavad Gita, all the chapters, there are 700 verses in this chapter. If somehow or the other we can understand all the verses in a systematic way, then we'll say, aha, then there will be self-realization, provided we put that knowledge into practice. Just like even in school, right? There's a subject called science. What do we do in science? At least in my days when I was going to school, there used to be a theory part. And then the teacher would take us to the laboratory to do the practicals, right? H2O. What is H2O? Hydrogen, oxygen. How do we know? We would go to the lab and we would do the practicals. And then we would realize the theory put into practicals. Then we'll say, aha, this is what it means, right? So also Bhagavad Gita teaches us, it gives us knowledge, but then at the same time also gives us a process by which we can put it into practice. So here, Krishna continues and he says that some look at the soul as amazing. Wow, soul is amazing. Some will describe the soul as amazing. Some will hear that soul is amazing, but some cannot even understand it. Then the question is, what would be the easy way to understand this subject matter? The easy way is to hear. to hear from a perfect source. Now, we all human beings, we have 4 defects, right? We make mistakes, we have tendency to cheat, we have imperfect senses, and we are in illusion. So being imperfect, there is no way we can give perfect knowledge. The perfect knowledge comes from the perfect source, which is the Supreme Lord. And that is what this Bhagavad Gita is. This Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Lord himself, Lord Krishna. And he is the authority, and he is giving us this knowledge about the soul. So then it'll be, since it's coming from a perfect source, we can be sure that we are getting perfect knowledge. So here, Krishna is giving all this knowledge about the spirit soul to Arjuna so that he can come out of this, lamentation, and so that he understand that the body is temporary, but the soul is eternal. And then Krishna explains to Arjuna another important point. He says that according to the scriptures, the warriors, those warriors, they are very happy when they get an opportunity to fight. Why? Because if they die in the battle, they go to the heavenly planets because they were doing their prescribed duty. And if they win, then they enjoy. They become opulent and then they enjoy. So he's telling Arjuna that you don't have to, you are not at a loss at all. If you win the battle, you will enjoy the opulent kingdom. And if you die in the battle, you will go to the heavenly planets. So it's a win-win situation for you. So he tells Arjuna, please do not lament. Do not say that I do not want to do my duty, because those who do not do their prescribed duties, according to Bhagavad Gita, they incur sin. And he tells Arjuna, you will lose your reputation. Now, Arjuna was a very, very powerful warrior. He was very strong, very famous fighter. And so if he, out of compassion, if he ran away from the battlefield or he refused to fight, then his reputation is at stake. People will think you're a coward. They will not understand that he was being compassionate towards the others. He did not want to kill the others, Now the others on the enemies, they were all, most of them were irreligious. So here Arjuna was, it was his prescribed duty as a warrior that he needs to fight. So Krishna tells Arjuna, now you please get up and you fight with determination. Right? Determination is very important. Now, supposing I, tell my son, I feel like starting a business. I want to do business. And you say, oh, good job. Go ahead. What should I do then? First of all, I should have knowledge about what I want to do, right? And after having the knowledge, then I should have the funds, right? Finances to start the business. Once I have that, of course, I need a place like an office or whatever, right? These are the steps I take. But then after taking all these steps, if I don't have the determination to run the business, obviously I'm going to go in a loss. I wake up in the morning, oh, today I'm not in a mood to do business. I don't feel like going to my office. I don't feel like, answering calls, forget it. I'll do it tomorrow. So if there is no determination, there's going to be no success, right? So to get successful in life, there has to be determination. There has to be sincerity. There has to be seriousness. Similarly, if we think that our goal in life is to become self-realized, to understand who am I, what is my real identity. If I am determined, then I will be able to progress on that path. Now, in verse number 38, Krishna tells Arjuna, excuse me, that you should fight because you're a warrior. You should do your duty without considering whether there's going to be a loss or gain, whether you're going to win or you are going to lose, whether it's going to, make you happy or distressed. No, do not think of that. You please just do your prescribed duty, then you will incur no sin. Just fight because I want you to fight. It is the Lord's will. It was his wish that Arjuna should do his prescribed duty. And Krishna says, in this endeavor, when you do your prescribed duty, there is no loss or diminution. And more importantly, he says that even a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous fear. What do you think is the most dangerous fear? The fear of death. No one wants to die. We want to live forever, even though we know we cannot live forever. Right? So if we perform our activities in knowledge, understanding who we really are, in other words, change our consciousness. It's not that we have to, give up everything. Krishna did not tell Arjuna, oh, you please give up your family, you give up your profession. I want you to go to the mountains and I want you to sit and meditate. No, he did not say that. That's not what Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. It says, yes, we need to perform our activities. We need to keep our body and soul together. We need to pay our bills. So we need to work. But how should we work? If we change our consciousness with the help of knowledge, then there will be no fear, right? Whatever spiritual activities that we perform in this life, we can take with us to our next life. But whatever material activities we perform in this life, we cannot take it with us to the next life. Just like supposing in this material body that I'm in now, I get a PhD degree and I get an American Express card with a credit limit of $50,000. Can I take all this to my next life? No way. I have to leave everything behind here. And any material activity, if it is incomplete, it gives no result. Whereas any spiritual activity that we perform, there is no loss because we take it with us. Our spiritual bank balance goes with us to every life, right? So if we are somehow or the other, understand this knowledge from the Bhagavad Gita, understand our true identity as the spirit soul, then we can start working on the spiritual plane. Even though we will be still doing our material duties like, taking care of the family, going to work, having best of relationships, having a social life, whatever it may be. We don't need to change all that. All we need to change is the consciousness. That's all, right? That is all. So somehow or the other, if we can systematically understand Bhagavad Gita, then put it into practice. So just knowledge, taking on knowledge is really good, but it is not sufficient. Just like, when I started to learn to drive, I had to first take on the knowledge, read the book. What does it say? What are the rules? What are the traffic rules? How to get the license, the driving license. All that knowledge is really good. That's the beginning. That's the first step. But after taking on that knowledge, I do not want to put it into practice. I do not want to train, learn to drive. I do not want to give a driving test. How can I get a license? Cannot do that. Just having a knowledge is good, but it is not good enough. It's not sufficient. So along with theory, along with the knowledge, practical is also very, very important. Then we will really understand our true selves. Just theoretically knowing I'm the spirit soul is good, but not good enough. Then when we put it into practice, then we will see the difference. They say that the taste of the pudding is in its eating. So here is pudding. It's really sweet. But how will I know it is sweet unless I taste it, right? Just like there is a bottle of honey. Unless I open the lid and I taste the honey, how will I know how sweet it is? So theory is good, but after theory, there should be a practical. So for us to really understand the true identity, to put it into practice, we need to do some meditation on a daily basis, in the sense meditation which can help us to really understand who we really are. And that is called mantra meditation. Man means mind, and tra means to free the mind of all anxieties. And I'm going to, in the chat, I'm going to type the mantra so that you can, there it is in the chat, so that you can chant with me. Let us chant, let us do this meditation just for a few minutes, and you will notice that it does make a huge difference, right? It kind of makes you happy and peaceful. And this I'm telling you from experience. I have been doing this mantra meditation for over 35 years on a daily basis. This is besides doing all my duties, going to a job, taking care of family, having babies, bringing up my son, educating him, seeing him successful in business, everything, doing everything that we normally do in this material world. But at the same time, taking on this knowledge from Bhagavad Gita and putting it into practice. So this mantra meditation really, really helps us to, become equipoised. Then, just like we read the first verse today, Matra Sparshas Dukantaya Shitoshana Sukha Dukkadaha. Sukha Dukkha, happiness, distress. Shito Ushna, summer and winter seasons. So just like the non-permanent appearance and disappearance of summer and winter seasons, similarly, happiness and distress, they also come and go. They are non-permanent. But Krishna tells Arjuna, become titikshasva, tolerate it. How will we tolerate? When we do this meditation. When we perform mantra meditation, it makes our mind peaceful. And then it becomes easy to tolerate, because then we understand, oh, today there is distress, no problem. It's non-permanent, it's going to go away. Today I'm happy, oh well, that's also non-permanent, it's going to go away. So I need to be prepared either way, happiness or distress. So I would humbly request all of you to please do this meditation with me. I'm going to repeat for a few times and see if you can also repeat, in your own rooms, and see if you can feel the change. You will see the difference if you chant this on a daily basis. You will definitely see the difference. So let's just do this meditation just for a few minutes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I hope you were able to chant. And yes, someone is asking me to repeat the mantra. I have typed it. I'll put it again in the chat. It is very simple. It is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is called a Maha Mantra, which means the mantra which is above all the mantras. It's the topmost mantra. It is Maha. Maha means the greatest chant. It is the greatest chant which is given in the Vedic scriptures, in the Vedas. This is what is recommended. Just like the doctor, prescribes the medication according to the ailment. Similarly, in this age, in this material world that we are in, this special chant is given to us to relieve us from all distress and to make us happy and peaceful. So, oh, what does it mean? Okay, the meaning of this mantra is these are the names of the Lord. Hara or Hari is the energy of the Lord, and Krishna and Rama are the names of the Supreme Lord. So when they are all put together in these 16 words, it means that we are praying to the Lord to please engage us in his service. So when we chant, these sound vibrations are very powerful. They are so powerful that they, through the ears, these sound vibrations enter into the heart and they start purifying the heart. Most of us, we have unwanted things in the heart, like lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion, so many unwanted things, maybe in little degree or more degree or, maximum degree or whatever. But doing this mantra meditation helps us to purify the heart. So this is a very, very, yes, I already explained the meaning of mantra. Man means the mind and tra means to free the mind of all anxieties. So thank you so much, all of you, for joining today.